and welcome to You Talking to Me. Today we are going to talk about European democracy. Did the leading candidates, did Martin Schulz and did Jean-Claude Juncker make Europe more democratic, or is it the opposite? To talk about that, I have the great pleasure to welcome in our studio in Brussels Magdalena Skajewska from Polskie Radio. She's the Brussels correspondent. Hi, Magda.
Hello, hi.
We have Olivier Hanrion, who is the Brussels correspondent from RTBF, the Belgian partner of Euronet Plus. Bonjour, Olivier.
Hello, Daniel.
And on the phone we have Gigi Donelli. He's not in Brussels, he's in Milano. He's from Radio 24. Hi, Gigi. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno, Daniel. Buongiorno.
Gigi, we are going to start with you. In Brussels, the German word Spitzenkandidaten is somehow pretty much en vogue since the election campaign. Do the people in Italy also speak about Spitzenkandidaten? Is this word known in Italy?
Not at all, Daniel. It's not. And the debate around the candidacy of the presidency, I would say, is not that high in this moment in Italy. So I wouldn't talk of a public debate on Spitzen or other candidate.
Do you have another word, Gigi?
No, I don't think we do have another word, and I insist a little bit, I underline the fact that we are not, as a country, we tend to be not concerned on the debate of the presidency. The information was quite clear. The idea was accepted that Juncker will be the next president. The Prime Minister, Italian Prime Minister, underlined, so accepted and subscribed the idea. And for the public opinion, that is so.
Magda, the word, what about Poland and Spitzenkandidaten? Is this a word from the Brussels bubble or is it known in Poland?
I think in Poland we've got a very similar situation to Italy. I think that the names of Juncker and Schulz appear in the media and they might be known, although not to, they are not very popular in Poland. But when it comes to, Spitzenkandidaten, I don't think that that's the name that, comes first to Polish people's minds when they think about European Commission.
Mm-hmm. Olivier, since Spitzenkandidaten is a German word, do you think that the fact that it made its way through the media is a sign for the German dominance in the European Union?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it was a German idea at the origin. I think it was basically Martin Schulz's idea. We wanted some candidate from the main groups to be president of the European Commission. Actually, when he said so, he was thinking of himself, basically. But I don't think that was a German idea. For instance, Angela Merkel was not very supportive of this idea.
That's true. Given the fact that we have 4 leaders of groups in the parliament who are German, not everybody thinks that that's a thing to worry about. That's what Marisa Matias, the member of the European Parliament from the group of the United Left, said last week in our show. Let's listen to her.
Germany elects more members of the parliament, so normally it has the biggest delegations in every parliamentary group, some connection with it. But I'm much more concerned with the ideological issues and divisions rather than with the nationality. I really don't think that's an issue.
So, Gigi, do you agree with Marisa Matias on the German dominance in Europe?
Yes, to a certain extent, it's an old story, an old debate, which is accepted. The fact that the relation with the Chancellor in term is always central in the European policy of Italy and other countries. So I don't see a very specific issues on that. I agree that Italian public opinion, when it does know the foreign policy, let's say Italian, they know very well Marine Le Pen, for example, okay? The problem is not, or the positive side is not that it's French or not, but the specific political position of single. Schulz is another figure which became very popular because of his fighting, let's say, with Silvio Berlusconi. And so people started to recognize Mr. Schulz as a socialist, democratic socialist, and so on. So I wouldn't see a very much national issues on that.
Okay, so let's talk about the concept of Spitzenkandidaten and democracy. The British Prime Minister David Cameron, as we all know, is criticizing this concept a lot. According to him, it's not democratic, it's even anti-democratic. He says that not even half of the European did vote. And Magda, in Poland, they were 23, not even 23% who were voting. So is this idea of a leading candidate on a solid democratic basis, according to you?
Well, it's true that the turnout, I think, all over Europe was pretty low, and the idea of Spitzenkandidaten was to boost the turnout, was to make people more involved in European affairs and make them more interested in what's going on in Brussels. And that concept, that strategy, as we all know, didn't really work. And also the turnout in Poland is the good example of that. Well, the Polish line, at least the line of the Polish government, is that we are supporting the idea. And I think Radosław Sikorski recently said that this is the democratic concept that we launched, basically, and we have to stick to that. And some EU diplomats are also saying that even if Jean-Claude Juncker is not the ideal candidate for the European Commission president, we started this whole this whole strategy, this whole path towards the nomination. So we have to stick to that. So and it seems like this week, it's very likely that Juncker will be nominated, will be chosen.
It is indeed, Olivier. Jean-Claude Juncker became somehow the synonym of democracy because he was the leading candidate of the European People's Party. They got most of the voters. So in his own country, he failed because of an affair around the Secret Service. He did not fight for transparency there. Do you think that his personal political act is not that much important now? No. He being...
I think this is totally different. There are kind of two different Jean-Claude Juncker. There is the Europe Jean-Claude Juncker, which is who was the president of the Eurogroup for a long time, who has been the longest member of the European Council, who has always been very pro-European. And there is Jean-Claude Juncker, Prime Minister of Luxembourg. And this is two different characters. I don't think European voters know what Jean-Claude Juncker did in Luxembourg, and they may think of him as Prime Minister of a country or ex-Prime Minister of a country where the fiscal problem were quite important, but I don't think this has an impact.
And I think there's also a British profile of Jean-Claude Juncker, especially now. Like British press is just so hostile to Juncker, trying to make him, to put him in a very, very bad light. So I think there's also a third profile of him right now.
And actually, if David Cameron said that it's not very democratic, it's more a sign that David Cameron is rather bitter that he cannot have a strong influence on the choice of the European Commissioner as his country did before.
Matteo Renzi, the Prime Minister of Italy, he was criticizing Jean-Claude Juncker first, now, and on the weekend. He said that with 5 other Social Democrats, he said that they are going to support him. On the other side, they want less strict rules for a stability pact. So is it all about national issues then?
No, I mean, Matteo Renzi, that's a good example. I mean, Matteo Renzi, of course, is a social democrat, so his natural candidate is the parliamentary ex-president Martin Schulz, but the winner is Juncker. So, of course, there is no, let's say, a friendly approach, but it's a political approach which is reasonable. Juncker will be the candidate, and within this candidacy, there will be a battle, we might even say, for changing the rules. Just Matteo Renzi spoke this morning, he just finished to speak in the Italian parliament to present the 6 months of the Italian presidency. And he's exactly talking about that. He said, we're going to Europe respecting the rules to change Europe from within. Of course, this is also a slogan, but this is the approach of the Italian new majority.
Okay, speaking about political groups, today was the deadline to form a group. We know that ECR, the European Conservative and Reformists, are going to be the third group. They won the battle over the NVA, the Flemish members of the European Parliament, on the Liberals. What did you think, Olivier, of the idea of NVA joining the Liberals in the European Parliament?
I don't know if you remember, but before the election, when I came here, we were talking about the fact that NVA was probably going to be a winner of this election in Belgium, and we were already wondering where NVA would join, which group they would join. And we were thinking that they would join the EPP group, because on the economic point of view, they are quite close with the EPP and also with the Liberals. Eventually, they chose to join the ECR, which is a very first time, a very première in Belgium, because this party is probably going to be the party of the next prime minister. It's very likely, even though in Belgium nothing is very clear, but it's very likely that Bart de Wever could become the next Belgian prime minister, and his political party is going to be member of a Eurosceptic group, which is never seen in Belgium, which is one of the founder of the EU.
Verhofstadt was somehow the opponent on a national level of NVA, so he said it's bad news for Europe.
Clearly, if NVA chose to join the ECR, it was more for domestic reason. It was more just to win a battle against Guy Verhofstadt. Was very also not very nice with NVA before the election. I remember an interview that Guy Verhofstadt gave on our radio a couple of years ago, where he assimilated NVA with extreme right, saying that this party is not pro-European. I don't think this is exactly the case, but then now he just pays what he did.
And yet he wanted them in his group. So what about credibility?
Exactly.
Here?
Where is the credibility? He wanted them in his group just because he wanted to remain the third biggest group in the European Parliament. Indeed, where is his credibility?
Okay, we are almost at the end. One last question. Magda, the Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski said on Sunday that the rules of democracy are that the largest party get the top job. So now, not only David Cameron, but also Martin Schulz could be the loser here.
Well, yeah, like initially, as we know, like Schulz said that he wanted to be the vice president of the European Commission. Now, after the last talks among the social democrat leaders, he is likely to become the next president of the European Parliament. But I think that, Schulz, even if at the very beginning, on the night of the elections, he wasn't very much in favor of this idea. And he was saying that, Juncker is the candidate of the biggest group, but still I'm the second in line. So please remember about me. I think now he's basically have realized that it might be really Juncker, and he needs to fight for another top job. So it might be the president of the European Parliament again, or as he wished before, the vice president of the European Commission.
Okay, so the idea of the Spitzenkandidaten, or the leading candidates, is going to be discussed more, I'm sure, about that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Magda. Thank you, Olivier. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you all, and see you soon on You Talking to Me.